Today, as the legitimate president of Venezuela, as the legitimate commander-in-chief of the armed forces, I am calling on soldiers and the military to join us, keeping within the framework of the Constitution, as we always have. The moment is now. It is not just a moment for peace and decency, it is also a moment for bravery, so that peace can be restored in Venezuela. God bless you. We will achieve freedom and democracy for Venezuela.
Our Latin America correspondent, Javier Arguedas, is monitoring the situation for us from Bogotá in Colombia. Hi, Javier. What have you been hearing and seeing in reports there? This is a story that is moving very quickly.
It is moving very quickly, and as it is normally the case in these types of situations, it is very hard to tell what is true and what is not true. So far, what we have seen for sure is, of course, that liberation of opposition leader Leopoldo Lopez and several movements that seem to be turning rather violent with tear gas launches by the police. But so far, we haven't seen any type of what we would expect to be a military action. So the situation seems to be calm, and that is what the government has been very quick to say, that the situation in the country is normal and under control. But videos from many users that are, of course, hard to tell if they're true or not, seem to be showing a rather escalation of the violence.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people gathered on the streets in Caracas, Javier. Who is supporting Guaido right now? He says that he has the support of what he calls brave soldiers. Who is out on the streets?
Well, on the streets are the supporters of Guaido that we have seen for many, many months now. The question is, and will continue to be, if that support is enough in order to actually force a change of government in the country. That can only happen if the population of the country really supports Guaido. And there is, or has been at least so far, a separation of classes, if you will. The more popular classes tend to still continue to be on the side of Nicolas Maduro, but that has been changing quickly. Now, as for the military forces, what we have seen so far are members of the Air Force in Venezuela. That is known to be the more disciplined part of the military and the part that is the least corrupt, and therefore has been siding Guaido in the strongest way possible. However, of course, we know that is only a part of the military, and Nicolas Maduro has shown us many times already that he is in control of the majority of the military forces. We'll see if that changes today.
Javier, we've just been looking at some pictures from a little bit earlier where Juan Guaido was on the streets there in Caracas, joined by some of his supporters, as you said. Remind us again what the Maduro government has been saying, how it's been reacting to the situation.
Well, the Maduro government is treating this as an insurgent movement. In some members of the government, even though Nicolas Maduro himself has not really referred to this, but they have said that this is a coup, or at least a trial to force a change of government through military action. And that is the discourse that we have been seeing so far. So the government is in a state of alert and in a state of suppressing these movements in order to maintain the order. They have been very quick to say again that the situation in the country is under their control, but we know it is very early in the morning still, and a lot can happen throughout the day.
Javier, in that Twitter message from the self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido, he called this the final phase of his plan to oust Nicolas Maduro. That is a very striking phrase. What does that mean?
It is a very tough one to answer, Sumi, because we know that Juan Guaido has said repeatedly that his movement is a pacific movement. That would discard any possibility of a military intervention. And then we see him backed by military forces. So it is a dual discourse there that is very difficult to really decipher. What exactly does he mean by that? In the most romantic idea, if you will, we would see a very, very big movement of the population going to the presidency and asking Nicolas Maduro to resign. That would be the more peaceful alternative. But from what we've seen and from the preparations that we've seen in the last couple of weeks and months, there always have been important components of the military forces there, military officers that have come here to Colombia even preparing for a scenario that might include a military intervention. And more worryingly, neither Colombia, the neighboring country, nor the United States have discarded the possibility of a military intervention. And we do not know what negotiations have been happening behind the scenes for today as the developments are coming.
Yeah, indeed, Javier. That is definitely the case, that we don't know exactly what's been happening behind the scenes. I want to ask you about Leopoldo Lopez, this activist who we mentioned, also a key opposition leader. He says he was freed by the military, and we saw him on the streets a little bit earlier. These are pictures we're looking at now. How significant is that?
It is very significant from a symbolic point of view. Leopoldo Lopez was the symbol of the oppression against the opposition in Venezuela. He himself had initiated a movement that had a lot of popular support in order to oust Nicolas Maduro and to force a change of government in the country. However, let's not forget that we have seen scenarios like the one we're seeing today many times before in Venezuela. Opposition leaders have come and gone without real change in the government, without changes in the policy of Nicolas Maduro, and nothing can guarantee that this time it will be different. Leopoldo Lopez is the face of a leader who was jailed after trying to achieve what Juan Guaido is trying to do today.
Javier, what can you tell us about the timing of this? Why are we seeing Juan Guaido launch what he's calling this final phase of his plan now? I mean, he had originally planned to lead a big protest tomorrow.
Yes, many are wondering why this is happening today, and the only reasonable explanation so far is the element of surprise. He wanted to surprise the government that was certainly preparing for mass mobilizations on May 1st. That is a traditional date, as we all know, in many parts of the world, and that was supposed to be the day where the change of government in Venezuela would come to place by the government of Juan Guaido. However, we are seeing him act today, and this can only be to anticipate the movements of the government and to be quicker than Nicolas Maduro and his team.
All right, our correspondent Javier Arguedas monitoring the situation for us. Thank you very much.